conservative,
Christian, mother, wife,
Air Force veteran,
gun rights advocate.
This is Stacy on the Right. Here's your host, Stacy Washington.
Welcome. Thank you for being with us this evening on SiriusXM's Patriot channel. Stacy Washington here. Glad to have you in the mix with us. We have so much program to get to tonight. Welcoming in James Czerniawski, a senior policy analyst in technology and innovation at Americans for Prosperity. Thank you so much, James, for returning to the show.
Thanks for having me, Stacy. It's great to be here.
I really was thinking to myself, oh, just what we need, government meddling in AI. But that's what we're getting. President Biden has created an executive order, and the executive order pertains to safe, secure, and trustworthy artificial intelligence. Now, I already have my doubts about how safe, secure, and trustworthy artificial intelligence is, but I'm definitely feeling like it's less so if the government's involved.
Yeah, I think that's a safe bet to follow in terms of how you should feel about the government getting involved in virtually anything. Rarely ever seen them get involved in something with it ending in a positive result, but that is what has happened here today, Stacey, is that on Monday, the Biden administration unveiled that sweeping executive order concerning artificial intelligence in order to encourage its safe and responsible innovation of artificial intelligence. So you have all the executive agencies, all the alphabet soup of agencies now being tasked with looking at how they might be using AI and how they might want to go and, modify their procurement process rules to meet certain standards before the government can go and buy it. Now, while that sounds nice in theory, and there certainly is some validity to that insofar as that the government, when it has used some of these newer technologies, has certainly, used them inappropriately at times, resulting in harm to Americans. It is good in that sense, but the government is also the biggest purchaser of a lot of these technologies too. So it might slow down innovation because everybody's trying to court for that government buck, if you will. And that, I think, would be a massive mistake. You don't want the government leading in this respect. The private sector has invested billions upon billions of dollars into artificial intelligence, and this move from the Biden administration really only serves, I think, to undermine the progress that we need to be making on this race to be dominant in this new technology here. Okay,
so just help me out here, because I'm always interested to figure out what was the kernel, what prompted him to even write an executive order on this, because the proper channel would be to take this through congressional, the first through the House, right? To have elected representatives have hearings and have people come in who are in the private sector who know the most about AI, to talk about the threats, to talk about the possibilities, and maybe craft some legislation instead of an executive order, which can easily be undone by a successive administration. So what even made him, is this a distraction away from the worst news that we're getting?
I would argue that it certainly is an inappropriate distraction, because every single time you look at the polling of things that Americans care about, AI, I think, certainly registers on some level, but the number one and number two issues are always inflation, the economy, jobs, healthcare, like all those things are way, way more important to Americans than artificial intelligence. But according to the Associated Press today, and I love this one, part of the thing when it comes to AI and Biden's infatuation with it is that he was watching at Camp David one weekend Tom Cruise's Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, right? Now, in that film, the villain is a sentient and rogue AI known as the Entity, and it sinks a submarine, kills the crew in the movie's opening minutes. And, if he hadn't already had concerns about what could go wrong with AI, apparently he had plenty more to worry about after seeing that movie. So literally we can see that this guy watched a movie, and that is influencing the way he's thinking about this emerging technology. So, oh, man, that just bothers me to my core. I was kind of hoping for Terminator, but this is apparently part of what his consumption of thinking about artificial intelligence involves, is Tom Cruise and Mission Impossible.
James, yeah. I'm flabbergasted. Are you? The movie by Tom Cruise. I saw it in the theater, by the way, so I know exactly what you're talking about. The opening scene is disturbing. These guys, they don't know what's going on, and the AI is like operating sentiently on its own, and it's able to kill a bunch of people. But I mean, it's obviously they're military people, and sometimes we get into these big kind of high-minded arguments about whether or not it's as bad as we think it is when active duty military people die, no matter if they're foreigners or not. because they sign up. You basically sign on the dotted line and you give your life away for 4 years or whatever the term is. And so if something happens to you, you already signed it away. But I mean, that high-minded, debate aside, the AI in the movie is a very advanced entity that is given control over crucial military infrastructure, a submarine, launch codes, things that I'm assuming the U.S. military isn't up to. Like, we're not giving AI control over things like that. I mean, the most AI now has control over is like emails and, valves.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right, Stacey. I mean, the way that we've seen artificial intelligence being used historically, because it's not as new as people think. It's just in that consumer-facing role that it's pretty new. But, as you pointed out, it's been used in email. It's been used to go and do predictive text when you're texting your friends. It's been used to go and help businesses with just analyzing data that they're generating even internally so that they can better streamline their internal processes, right? So artificial intelligence is leaps and bounds away from the Tom Cruise movie. That's the good news. It's also nowhere near the Terminator kind of situation. So we're crossing out these movies one at a time here. But, I think we'll go and get through them all before we know it. And the reality is that, I think that what it's more emblematic of, which is why I have so much issue with the way that the Biden administration is approaching it, is that he's embracing the fear that's been, promulgated around artificial intelligence. There are people that go and say it's going to kill us all. It's going to take all of our jobs. It's, going to, end society as we know it. We need to treat it similar to how we look at nuclear war and pandemics. Like, this is very hyperbolic and very charged language. And seemingly this administration is running headfirst into that cautionary, very fearful kind of approach. And that's just not the story of America and how we've been a leader in technology for the last 100 years. We weren't the first to flight because we were afraid of going in the air. We embraced that challenge. We saw that there was an opportunity to do something that hadn't been done before, and we ran straight headfirst into it. And to go and take on this approach that's more fearful in nature, I think actually undermines, the kinds of progress that we can have here that can actually go and really accelerate a lot of the promising things that we're seeing in AI getting developed over the last year or so, right? So whether that's in the medical context with helping spot and reduce cancer because you're going and seeing it faster and not missing it as often as an X-ray technician might, helping stroke patients recover because it's powering trousers that let them walk because mobility matters when you're in the hospital. You don't want to be immobile. That's not good for your health. In the education context, I know we've talked about this before, where you can have a super tutor for your kid that tailors to your kid's learning style. That's the kind of stuff that you want to be focusing on with the conversation around artificial intelligence, not about whether or not the Tom Cruise AI is here to kill us all. That's just not where we're at. That's not the right place to be focused.
Yeah, I agree with you. And so there are concerns. I did read something, and I know the last time you were here and we talked about AI, we talked about some of the readings that are out there on they've gamified some of the interactions with AIs and, the military AIs when it's given the opportunity to have an objective using drone warfare, that it would kill the human operator if the human operator got in the way of it achieving its goal because it's a computer. And so it would eliminate the problem. And so, they, of course, learn from that the computer has no moral limit on it unless one is placed upon it. And so that's a human thing that it's basically a part of it that you can't outsource to the AI, the human capability of determining what is the right and moral outcome and when the moral outcome outweighs the objective. So you need that built in by a human being. With that being said, when you talk about the convenience, what I've learned recently is that the expansion of AI from just being simply predictive text into other arenas means that AI can help you manage your schedule. It can help you organize tasks. And most importantly, I'm looking forward to the moment when Walmart and a lot of these other retailers that have gotten rid of the human checkers realize that an AI, if it's properly instituted, could be the new checker, right? So you dump your items onto the checkout lane, and the AI not just scans the items, but then also routes them into bags that make sense. Milk into paper bags with handles, cheese into soft plastic bags, and all of that happens on the conveyor belt in front of you. You still have to pay. You still have to kind of, keep an eye on it, but it would be a welcome change for me basically working for the grocery store for free when I go in and there are no human checkers and I have to, basically check my own groceries, check my own prices, and then show the receipt to the person at the door so she can double check my work. Yep. And I'm not even being paid and I'm being given a discount. Like we need an AI for that.
Oh, no, I think you're 100% right, Stacey. I know when I was here last time on your show, we talked about why, it was so important that we were reinforcing a culture of permissionless innovation in this country because of the role it can have on reducing the prices of goods and services that Americans are buying all the time. Certainly underneath this administration, we've known how Americans are spending thousands of dollars more per year on various grocery items and their energy costs, et cetera, right? So if artificial intelligence can go and help lower those prices for Americans, whether that's how they're feeling it at the pump or how they're feeling it in their energy costs at home, because AI can go and help the energy sector do a better job with managing its energy load requirements during peak hours and things of that nature, or maybe to your point about shopping with the food and helping organize and categorize things better to go and put it in the right spot. All those things are cost deflationary kind of things that AI is responsible for. And that's something that we would want to encourage in an era where we've had sticky inflation hanging around now for years and prices being permanently higher. So, again, AI can play a big role in trying to go and help lower the costs that so many Americans have just been buried with underneath this administration.
Yeah. And I think that the part that is so annoying about Biden is, so if a movie, and I have to stress here because I'm a big I'm a big consumer of movies and that kind of content. And I think it's a great thing to be able to, go to the film. And we actually had dinner at the theater, like, in the chairs and the reclining seats and all that. It's quite the show. And we went in and it was intentionally a big night for us to watch a Tom Cruise film because we knew that it wouldn't be woke and there wouldn't be anything political in it. And true to form, he did not disappoint. Now, I don't feel like that movie was as good as his blockbuster, Top Gun Maverick, but it was interesting and the plot did hold me all the way through the film. And the AI at the beginning was frightening, which was his intention. But it's one thing for me and my family. I'm a radio host. I live in the Midwest. We went to the movies out here to someplace no one else in this country who listens to this show has ever heard of before. And we watched the movie and we paid. We came back home and we went on about our business. It's only one thing for me to go see it and to feel a little bit of fear in the beginning of the film and then go home. It's another thing for President Biden to see the movie and then go issue an executive order. Like, is this a clown world we're living in, James? Like, what is just happening right now? He saw a movie and he did an executive order. What?
Yeah, no, I still can't get my mind around that. I think it was funny. I think one of the other posts around that I saw that made me laugh was like, imagine if you had saw King Kong, we'd be having a bunch of billions of dollars invested in putting like a bunch of protections around the skyscrapers of Manhattan because we'd be fearful of King Kong showing up.
Or Pacific Rim. Again, remember that one? Pacific Rim?
Yeah.
Where there were openings in the seafloor? Imagine the executive orders he could do off of that.
Yeah, no, I think it's wild. Obviously, there were other factors at play too, but again, it goes to show how sometimes it's the simplest of things that can go and I think certainly play a role in shaping how people think about these technologies or these issues that they're encountering. When it comes to the Tom Cruise movie, like in any movie, you're supposed to have a suspension of belief in order to go and kind of move forward with the experience, right? And for some reason, maybe he's just always in suspension of belief of things, and maybe that's why he just bought it so easily. But the reality is that that's obviously not reflective of what's actually possible. Maybe at some point down the line, 100+ years from now, you can't get AI experts to agree on that Terminator kind of situation that those movies go and highlight. Some say it's like 10 years. Some people say 25 years. Some people say 50 years. I say, look, I'm not going to let the fear of the off chance that you create the Terminator situation stop me from wanting to go and pursue something that has so many clearly identifiable positive developments for people and for so many different aspects of the American economy. It's not worth it. I think that we can do more to mitigate against the bad by continuing to double down on the things that we do so well. And that's where I'd rather go and see our energy and time focus, not going and chasing all the alphabet soup agencies to go and figure out ways to, harken down AI in their respective domains, right? within that EO, he called out the FTC explicitly and encouraged them to continue using their existing authorities and to look at possibly promulgating more rules around AI. And Lena Khan has been probably one of the worst FTC chairs that I've ever seen because she's been so hostile to the tech company, regardless of whether or not there's any veracity to anything she's bringing up. And it's like, you really want to be encouraging this bureaucrat who's wasted millions of dollars of taxpayer money suing all the big tech companies now, trying to go and create more rules around a technology she can't even possibly fathom or understand? It just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I'll just add, there's another arena in which the AI could be very helpful, obviously still under human supervision, but that is diagnostic testing for in the field of healthcare, the healthcare arena. Mm-hmm. So instead of issuing executive orders, it seems like he would unleash the innovation so that these diagnostic technicians, they do an excellent job, but human error can sometimes be, a bit of a deadly problem. We don't have a ton of that in our country, but we could eliminate even that by having some kind of an AI built to look over the test results after the human beings review them. Or maybe the AI reviews them first and highlights what it finds, and then the human beings, close everything up and put a bow on it with the actual findings. But those are the focuses that I think would excite Americans and give us something hopeful to look forward to, as opposed to fear-mongering. Because let's face it, there are no kaiju, there are no King Kongs, there's no Godzilla. These are all figments of people's imaginations. But the AI is real. The diseases are real. And so we could really see some innovation in that sphere, at least. I mean, it's just shocking to me that this is the best we can do. Except maybe it shouldn't be shocking at all. James, it is Joe Biden we're talking about here. 50 years in D.C. with that one positive accomplishment.
Yes, you are right about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that you're absolutely right highlighting the healthcare point. I mean, this president, by the way, don't forget, one of his big things that he wanted was his moonshot initiative for cancer. So to your point, I think that you're actually going and cutting off your nose to spite your face there to go and put out this executive order that's going to limit the ability and undermine the ability of companies working with AI in the healthcare sector to actually help you achieve your dream in tackling cancer and ending it as we know it, as he likes to repeatedly claim, right? AI, if we're catching cancer sooner, we are saving millions of lives. There are so many people that go and do that. The other one that I found about recently that was awesome was they had AI look at the scans, the retinal scans that people normally get done with their eye tests, and they were able to detect within the cornea of your eye whether or not you had a heart condition. And now that's usually one of the leading causes of death for men. So they trained the AI to go and recognize that. And just based off of the eye scan data that they were showing the AI, they can go and tell you whether or not that patient had a heart condition with 95% accuracy, which is just wild to think about. That is a life-changing thing that can go and help implicate millions of lives and make the world better so many times over. And again, to my point before, it's just, why not double down on that instead of thinking about the stuff that is requiring suspense of the imagination and making you have to go and sit down in a movie theater for a couple of hours where you should just be enjoying yourself instead of cowering in fear. Again, we got to lean into what makes America so unique relative to the rest of the world here. It's that we believe in innovation and a culture of entrepreneurship, and we need to double down on that. So really, again, there are some things in the executive order that try to go and help it, but I think that the little good that is in there gets undermined by this flurry of bad items that are in the executive order, more broadly speaking. And that makes it unfortunate. So a missed opportunity by the Biden administration, but I hope that members of Congress can go and try to course correct for some of this and, guide them to a better path here as we're looking forward into 2024 and beyond.
I agree. And so, I'll just close out by saying, or one of us could email Tom Cruise and ask him to make a movie where a patient is cured or their life is saved because their retinal eye scan was reviewed by an AI and heart disease was detected, and then show the movie to Biden, and maybe he would, kind of reverse course on this. Since I didn't know that was an advocacy method that we're not even looking into, which is movies that say things that we want President Biden to know. I guess that's the only way to get around his echo chamber.
Yes, we got to try that as soon as possible, Stacy.
I mean, mean, I'm a little tongue in cheek, but geez, wait till I tell. You'll hear my husband laughing from way across the country to wherever you are after the show tonight when I tell him about how Biden saw the same movie we saw and decided to do an executive order in part because of the movie. James Czerniawski, always great to have you here from Americans for Prosperity. Thank you for your time tonight, and especially your work in the tech policy area. The website is americansforprosperity.org. Thank you. Have a great night.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Have a wonderful evening. He's brilliant. At least we know why some of the things that are happening. It doesn't make it feel any better, but at least we know why. Okay. We will be back. In fact, what I'm going to do next is after this break, I'm going to circle back to the opening of the show where we were discussing all the times the Palestinians have been given the opportunity to have their own country. I'm going to wrap that up for you. And then we'll launch off into a couple of other things I have here tonight, especially you have hundreds of Columbia professors signing a new letter saying they're appalled and horrified about campus anti-Semitism. Talk about a cleanup job. Like, these people are literally trying to mop up all of their nonsense from the past 3 weeks because it has harmed their universities, and they're trying to fix it. So we'll be back with those things. Stay there.